And so I got a Wi-Fi hotspot, and that was working great with a repeater. So I'd keep the hotspot upstairs, and the repeater wouldn't even know if my clients can get through to me. So I was kind of hesitant yesterday to get on here because I've been having just a lot of technical difficulties over the past few days. So I don't know how spotty this connection is going to be, but I just thought I'd get, I wasn't on yesterday as promised. So I'm just going to get on here today and talk about, what I've recently discovered in the last few days. As some of you may know, if you've been following along with my lives, I'm visiting my hometown for the winter, which I never come home in the winter because I was in SoCal for the last decade and I'm not acclimated. So the few times that I wanted to come home, I wouldn't deal with the holidays because in LA in the winter everybody leaves for the holidays, so it's kind of nice and quiet and you have the place to yourself, and I wouldn't want to fly up and deal with all the holiday traffic just to be home for a few days. Cost a lot of money, so I would just stay down there and I would visit in the summertime. But I was here in the summer visiting, and I guess it takes about 2 months for your blood to thicken for you to be acclimated. So I thought, well, I was here for about 6 weeks, so I'm probably acclimated, and I'm not doing too bad. My friend from LA sent me this beanie today while I'm waiting for the new Wi-Fi repeater. So I'm all packed in, but I like it. It's not a color of green that I would pick for myself, but I like it. It's a nice shade. So I just thought I'd hop on here and tell you guys about Mars square Saturn, and I'll link, the deal breaker and divorce aspect videos below because I've spoke on this a ton. But I ran into an old friend this past weekend who I grew up with. So I have a best girlfriend. She's one of the only person that I can confirm, because there's a few guys that I know that I've mentioned this in other videos, their moon is right on the Taurus Gemini cusp, and I haven't been able to confirm whether they're Taurus or Gemini moons. So I told you guys, especially for more like Earth moons, like I'm in some significant, well, I don't know. I feel like the Virgo is quite apparent in me, but you definitely introverted. Most people, if they don't spend, a significant amount of time with me, they're not going to see that. If they're just a friend and we go on adventures and they just bump into me and we're acquaintances, they're definitely not going to see the Virgo side. So, I have a lot of Gemini in my chart, so that could be part of that Mercury energy that they may pick up on. But, okay, now I'm just like going off on a daydream here with my Mercury and Pisces. But anyway, ran into an old friend this weekend. I grew up with a girl. I've known her since I was born. She's an Aquarius with a Taurus moon. And I told you guys, there was a few customers at a bar where I was working that had like early degree Virgo moons. And I dated one Leo whose moon is like 12 degrees and like 50 minutes Virgo. So here's another thing I want to mention as I'm getting into this today. I love cafe astrology. It's how I run most of my clients just quickly. I don't put them all the way in the database unless I have their time where I'm doing significant work. I put, my loved ones in at 13 degrees. He and I had great synastry. We got along really well, but he was just he's going through a pretty bad divorce. And so we met like right as he was separated, and he just obviously wasn't ready to have a new commitment because, as they say, I've always kind of questioned, like, is it healthy or not to jump from one relationship to another? People say it's not, but I've seen plenty of people do it successfully. So it's hard for me to judge. I don't think you should judge it on how quickly you got out of another relationship. Although they do say, like, narcissists and toxic people will just replace you with new source. So that's very debatable. And I think if you get out of a long relationship that was sort of miserable and then you meet someone and hit it off, I don't think that you should. I think that you can heal and grow in a relationship. So if it's a healthy relationship, you can still heal and grow in that relationship. I don't think you have to be isolated or by yourself or go date 100 people before, it should be socially acceptable for you to be in a new relationship, because plenty of toxic people jump from one relationship to the next and have a new victim that they hold on to for, a decade. So, that's all up to you, how you feel, whether you're ready. So he wasn't ready. He wanted his freedom, but I didn't realize wife in Virgo, or no, Venus Mars conjunction in Virgo, and my moon smack dab in the middle. Well, his Mars at a high degree of Gemini squares her Venus. My Venus is at a high degree of Pisces, so it didn't pick up in Cafe Astrology. But when I put our birth times in and like looked in the database, he has Venus. His Mars is in high degree Gemini squaring my Venus as well. So I think her Venus is like 23 degrees Virgo, and my Venus is like 17 degrees Pisces. So, but I think when I actually ran it with my birth time, it was within 5 degrees. So I don't know why Cafe Astrology didn't pick that up. I'm thinking maybe it only picks up certain aspects within 3 degrees, because my friend I ran into this weekend, I ran our chart, and I'm going to get into a little bit his history. But I ran our chart together, and it listed all the aspects off, and it didn't show that he has a Venus-Mars conjunction in Leo, and my sun is at 21 degrees Aries, and his Venus is at, I believe, 24 degrees Leo, and his Mars is at 25 degrees Leo. So it's within a 3 and 4 degree orb, and it didn't list it on Cafe Astrology. It didn't list Venus trine, not Venus, Sun trine Venus and Sun trine Mars. And it's within a 5 degree orb. So I'm thinking maybe it's got to be within a 3 degree orb for those. One second. With this cold weather, I'm having a hard time shaking the last bit of that. But so I, this is why if you do run the synastry, you might want to run it with an astrologist too, because they're going to pick up on things like that, little discrepancies. So, we had this list. We have no malefic, deal breaker, or divorce aspects, but it's not showing that great Venus, Mars. So I keep on saying Venus trine Venus, Sun trine Venus and Sun trine Mars, So, and that's huge because he has a Venus-Mars conjunction in Leo. And so anyways, we were good friends. So my friend, that's the Aquarius with the Taurus moon that I've known since I was born. Our parents were friends. She had a boyfriend in high school, and I would always go hang out with all of them in the city. She got her driver's license at 16. I grew up in the suburbs, so she would come and get me, and I was 14, and she would bring me to hang out with all of them, and I was always the baby. So when I ran into him this weekend, it just blows his mind, because I was just always this young baby hanging out with all these older kids. And even he has a sister that's a year older than me, and my friend, the Aquarius, she has a sister that's a year younger than me, but for some reason they were never around, but it was always me with the older kids. I was at least 2 years younger than all of the youngest, and he's 4 years older than me. So when I was 15, he was 19. I was jailbait. They didn't mess with me. They were like my big brothers, But now that we're in our 30s, he's like, gosh, you always were pretty cute. It's just, I always thought of you as a little sister. So, I didn't realize it. You don't realize it till you get older that I was probably hanging around them all the time because I felt safe with them. But anyways, so it was this big group of boys and then a few girls, and I was, and their girlfriends and stuff, and it was just a big family. So to see him for the first time in like 15 years, he's been married. Well, they're married, but he's been in a relationship for 15 years, had a boy. But I also knew his first baby mama. When they were together, they were all hanging out with us. So I don't want to get too much into his business on here, but he's like, what's with all you April babies? Because obviously I'm 411. The woman that he's divorcing now is actually on the cusp of Taurus and Aries. And then the woman I just said, the first baby mother, she was early April. So, and I always knew that because I know her. So anyways, it's like kind of a small world around here. But and his best friend, actually, who was my Aquarius friend's boyfriend, he's April 1st, Aries. So it was, and so anyway, I always thought this guy was a Virgo. And there's another good friend of ours who actually called him last night. I was hanging out with him, and he called, and they were chatting for a while, and I knew he was a Virgo. So I'm always surrounded by like Virgos and Aries. I don't know why, because my 12th house is Virgo, but my moon is Virgo. So he's actually on the cusp of Libra. He's a Libra. He's September 23rd. So, but I have a cousin and a lot of good male friends that are September 22nd, because that's right on my ascendant at 0 degrees Libra. So, they say ascendant and descendant contacts are significant. Some of my most important brothers, cousins, and just men in my life, not so much women, but men, their suns sit right on my ascendant, 0 degrees Libra. So that's September 22nd. So if you're wondering, like, if you have anyone in your life and you're like, their sun is on my ascendant, yes, that's a significant, whether it's going to be a brother-like figure to you, because it can be familial contacts too that you'll find on your ascendant or in these important houses. So not to go too far off on houses right now, because a lot of people don't know their house system. They don't have their birth times. And I can tell everything just by the planets and the aspects. So we really only need your birthplace or your birth time. Anyway, so I want to get into his April relationships. He's like, what's with all you April women, yada, yada. But I'm going to get into why it didn't work out with them that I just confirmed. But here's another thing I'm going to touch on really quickly, talking about the ascendant. Let's talk about the descendant that's out. Sometimes my meter's off. So 0 degrees Aries, I would always have so many friends, male and female, that have Aries moons. And so I always thought it's just because I'm an Aries sun and we have that sun-moon conjunction. And you will find that a lot of you have asked me about that. Yes, it's very significant. You're going to feel a lot of simpatico, a lot of understanding with the sun-moon conjunction. Like I said, I attract a lot of Virgos and Virgo suns. I'm a Virgo moon. But my 7th house is in Aries, so the houses really do play a big part in this. So a good friend of mine who's kind of world famous in his craft, and I had a friend this weekend, a newer friend that I actually just made when I moved back, but we know all the same people, so we're kind of figuring that out. He's like, how did you know him? And my friend that passed away, well known around the world again for his craft and his trade, but he was married when he passed away, so I usually don't get into too many details about him. But my friend was like, how do you know him? How did you know him? And he had an Aries moon. We were great buddies the last 3 years that I lived here. We went to the same high school, but he was 5 years older than me, so I didn't meet him until I was 21. Introduced through a mutual friend. One of my best friends in high school, she's a Taurus with an Aries moon. A girl that I was really good friends with in my early 20s is a Sagittarius with an Aries moon. One of my good friends in LA that I bartended with for many years is a Gemini with an Aries moon. So this for me is male and female. But I didn't realize with these boys I grew up with, like I kind of knew he was a Virgo. He's actually on the Libra-Virgo cusp. So I told you guys, I feel like I had to come back home to like reevaluate all these charts and try to get people's birth times, which I have gotten a few, which is kind of cool. So I told you guys I keep bumping into Libra moons. I'm having my South Node return with Libra, but I'm also having my North Node return with Aries. So I told you guys like all these Libra contacts, even him, he's a Libra sun. So his sun's going to sit right on my ascendant, not quite to my South Node, because my South Node's about, 10 degrees Libra. But I told you guys I had met a guy whose moon was on my South Node, and then bumped into an old friend whose moon was on my South Node. And now we have this Libra and another Libra friend that I ran into who's the middle of October, whose sun actually sits on my South Node. This guy's sun sits on my ascendant, but his best friend growing up, and I don't even know what his moon is. I should have looked it up before I put on. But he was even more like a brother to me, because that was like, he was like a brother-in-law, because I'm my Aquarius, Taurus moon boyfriend. So he is April 1st. I could pull it up on my computer, but it's not really significant because he's April 1st, so his sun sits in my 7th house near my Jupiter. This guy's moon is, and I don't have his birth time yet, he's going to find it for me, is pretty much conjunct my Jupiter in my 7th house. So, and then we have this, my sun trining his Venus-Mars conjunction, which remember in Vedic astrology is love marriage. So he's like, why do I keep attracting all these April women? Well, they're trining his Venus-Mars conjunction, but with his current wife that he's separating and divorcing, it's a cuspy trine, right? Because she's trining his conjunction maybe within, okay, so my sun is 21 degrees and I'm on April 11th. She's on the cusp of Taurus. She's a Taurus. So his 24, 25 degrees, because 30 degrees Aries is going to be like the 19th or 20th of April. So she's like 1 or 2 degrees Taurus. So 25 degrees, his Mars sits in Aries, to 2 degrees Taurus. That's about a 7-degree orb out of sign trine. And he still was drawn to it. Now, Venus trine Jupiter, the ninth house, and he rules marriage. So when you see these significant Jupiter contacts, you're going to see a legal marriage. So her Venus is trine his Jupiter. They legalize the marriage. You're going to see that a lot in legal marriages. Or for me, I told you in my marriage, my Juno was conjunct his Jupiter in Aquarius. And it's interesting because Jupiter rules the spouse in a woman's chart. So you're going to see, that women often marry the sun sign of their Jupiter. So I should have, would have, could have, maybe will marry an Aries. But I can't seem to lock Aries down. I don't know, because my Rahu is there. So, or maybe just too much Virgo. I need Aries with like significant Earth in his chart. But so you're going to see Venus a lot. If you look at my short, I did like the love planets. It's Venus and Jupiter. So almost, you could see great industry and the two don't even like actually commit because they just don't have Saturn or Jupiter there to make it happen, even though they get along really well. So for him, with me and him, for example, we don't have any malefic deal breakers or divorce aspects. I'm actually contacting his Venus-Mars conjunction in the trine, the tightest of anyone. And I told you guys my ex-husband's Venus is in Sagittarius at a high degree, like 18 degrees. So trining my sun in Aries. And then his next two wives have the same birthday and their Venus is conjunct their sun in Sagittarius is conjunct his Venus. I actually told him about the second wife, and then he went and found the same birthday. So he actually followed me. He understood. I'm like, no, but you're supposed to let me run the chart before you legalized it. So anyways, Venus has a lot to do with resources and money too. So this guy recently got dumped by whose Venus was in Virgo, and he kind of went after this Virgo woman, and she didn't want to spend money and buy her flowers. This guy never did that with me, but he started doing that with her. And all I can think, so this is something I've realized about Venus, a man's Venus aspecting a woman's sun makes him want to be very generous with her. So he might want to marry her and take care of her and spend money on her and not have any reservations about taking her to nice dinners or buying her flowers in the beginning. Or he may be more stingy in a Venus opposition. Even though there's still going to be finances involved and they can find balance there. Like I had a Venus opposition with that guy. And he was kind of like, oh, I don't know. Like I spent a lot of money on my ex, but then he meets this girl and he's just, oh, I've got money, So kind of pathetic. But so I am noticing when a man's Venus is trine or conjunct a woman's sun, he's more willing to spend money on her. So he might be more willing to be a provider for her. So he might be more willing to like solidify the marriage. But I do think Jupiter has to be significantly contacted for a relationship to be legalized or to get there, because Jupiter sort of brings status to. Not the same way that Saturn does, but in a way where like the people around you are kind of more warm and receptive to the idea. So, everybody wants to be at the wedding maybe. I don't know, my ex-husband and I, not everyone wanted to be at the wedding, but we did have that Juno-Jupiter conjunction. So anyway, this wasn't a rant about that. I want to actually get into, for one, my friend that I grew up with that I just bumped into, he actually has this trine with me the tightest because it's out of sign and not as tight with the current wife he's divorcing, and then the first baby mama that they were together 4 or 5 years, and they were very close when we were young. It's got to be like at least 8 more degrees. So it's 3 degrees with me, so it's over 10 degrees, and he was still drawn to it. But his moon actually might be closely conjunct her sun, right? Because it's close to my Jupiter. My Jupiter is conjunct like late March Aries suns. So his moon was probably more conjunct the first Aries sun. And so that could have been, but so I looked, so he gave me, he's helping me figure out the years and the days, and this is what I want to get into, and then I'll wrap it up because I really don't know how spotty this connection is. And you guys are kind of coming and going. So if you're in here and it's just like blurring in and out, let me know. But I looked up the first Aries that he dated when we were young. They have Mars square Saturn, and around 5 years, they had a huge falling out. And then the wife now, they have Mars square Mars and Mars square Saturn. And now he said it's always been pretty rough. It's been rocky for a while. Mars square Mars, it's such a strong attraction, but it's so unpleasant to live with. It's a constant battle. And then when you put some really reinforcing positive aspects, like their personal planets are very well aligned. One second here. And then you add like Venus trine Jupiter. And I wasn't able to confirm either of the women's moons. Her moon appears to be either in Taurus or Gemini. And I didn't actually pull up to try to get a clear picture of that, but her birthplace, I should have done that. Let's say, for example, if her moon is in Gemini, which it might be, it's either in Taurus or Gemini, and his moon is in Aries, then that's maybe why they were able to stay together for 15 years with Mars square Saturn. Okay, so sometimes moon compatibility, even in the sextile, did with the first Aries, okay? So, you know, I just really don't recommend you guys date people that you have Mars square Saturn with. You're going to end up divorcing, whether it's 5 years or your moons are compatible and it's 15 years. Don't do it. I mean, an opposition, I've seen that in a 75-year marriage. A square, honestly, this is probably his marriage now, this 15 years is the longest I've seen Mars square Saturn. And I did tell you guys the good aspects. It's going to feel worth it, but it's just this constant friction. It's just going to wear on you. And at the end of the day, you still come up losing. You invest, like he was saying, he invested so much into this. There's so much property value on their assets, and now he's got to split it, and he's the one who's been paying the mortgage the whole time. So, you know, Saturn is about resources and sacrifices. So it's just, at the end of the day, you're going to get screwed with Mars square Saturn. It is a deal breaker or divorce aspect. So don't do it, you guys. Just, if you see you have Mars square Saturn, don't do it. If you see you have Mars square Mars, don't do it. If you have Mars opposition Saturn, if you really, really like the person and love them, give it a try. But if it gets rocky, get out. Okay, so that's, I mean, I wish more people would join the database. Like I told you guys, I found a few matches in there. I found a match the other day. I was super excited about it. Of course, I sent the email to the wrong person. She might even be a follower here. And I got an email back, and I haven't even read it, honestly, because I've just been getting hit left, right, sideways, tech glitches, and then to send it to the wrong person. Just, I shouldn't even admit to that, but we're live, so I'm off the cuff. But I mean, I've been trying to rack my brain how to get people in the database, because I'm tired of watching you all fail at relationships. And you will come to me and you'll listen to me and you'll research, but you won't let me match you. I've thought about, like, should I make it free to end? The reason that I don't do that is because I don't want just the database to get filled with a bunch of garbage. Like, I want to know that the people that are submitting are committed, that when I find them a match, they're going to follow through on it as well, because I don't want to find you a match and then the other person falls through on their end. So that's why part of why there's an initial fee as well. It just launched a big advertising campaign. My friend and I, we brainstormed over the summer how, I was like, you know, people think it's too good to be true, this database, because it's like, oh yeah, right, you can't just tell by the astrology, you can't just match people that way. But I can sit here and see you guys all fail when you have Mars square Saturn, you know, it's frustrating to watch. Maybe divine timing is too arrogant of a title. Maybe I need to rebrand. I told him too, we could have put $10,000 into branding. I think the branding is beautiful, and still barely any results. So it's just like very, very frustrating to watch people go on to like Plenty of Fish and Match.com and go, oh, I'm a Capricorn, he's a Taurus, and date, and then it fails. It's like, because you have Mars square Saturn. You could find another Capricorn and not have that and live happily ever after, but you're going to have to go through the law of averages. Or you can go in the database and just let me look for you and recruit. So if you guys have any ideas for me on how to get people in the database, like a better strategy, let me know, please, because I just feel like I'm like a martyr for love, because it's like, I have the answers and nobody listens. Very frustrating. That's my own, again, like thing that I have, my mindset that I have to change, like the master key in Napoleon Hill, because I give my 150% to everything that I do. And I feel like, I don't know, I just feel like that glass ceiling, like there's always something pushing me that I have. I really should see, I mean, there's not a lot of harmony in my chart. I have that grand cross, but I feel like I really should be seeing more results with things. I'm like, why would I be illuminated with this and feel the desire to go full throttle if it wasn't meant to be, I guess? I don't know. Very frustrating for me to help clients. I'd known this 15 years ago. I could have told them, I guess, but it is what it is. Yeah, I mean, and I mean, I guess I just have to be grateful for like the 100 or 200 clients that come to me, that do listen to me, that find someone that they don't have these with, that start to live a happier life and have a healthier relationship. The handful or the dozens that are able to make that shift and go out and find someone they don't have this with. And it is about divine timing too, I guess. I mean, maybe we just live in a time where people aren't supposed to have true love. But I don't know if I could fix that, if I could change the world. You know, there's this Chris Cornell song. It's like, she's going to change the world, but she can't change me. You know what I mean? It's like, you could get with someone you have Mars square Saturn, probably not that aspect. And I saw it with a client the other day, and they didn't have Mars square Saturn. And I feel like Pluto square Saturn can kind of, it can be, it's like that strong commitment that will make you stick out rough aspects, but at the same time, when it goes down and that divorce or separation happens, it's still going to play out like Pluto square Saturn. You're still going to lose resources, maybe not to the extent that I see with Pluto square Saturn, because Pluto square Saturn is really the worst divorce custody battle, or Johnny Depp Amber Heard type of ending. Every time I see it, the conjunction, yeah, you're still gonna get screwed over in the divorce. You're gonna pay a lot of money, but it's not going to be to the detriment of the square, but it's still gonna be painful. But it may not be like, I know Tony Gaskins, love him or hate him, I don't care. He says the reason that he isn't adulterous is because it ends in calamity, it ends in death. You know, it's sort of like Christians believe, like, you live by the tongue, you die by the tongue. So if you do these certain things, you're either going in this direction, like being prosperous, up and up, on the up and up, or you're kind of work out, you're healthy, you're, you know, prolonging. If you're not faithful, to create a sort of jealousy. Jealousy is the most destructive emotion, as Joseph Murphy says, for death. Like, you can make your partner so jealous that they might have a reaction. I'm not justifying it, but you kind of set yourself up where you could have protected yourself by being a little more prepared and logical, making smarter decisions. If you wanted to be with someone else, you just leave the other partner. Maybe there's a blowout, you get through the storm, but when you spring it on them like that, they might have a reaction. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, Pluto square Saturn is going to be that type of aspect where it could definitely result in, you know, unaliving, or just kind of like smoking, where it's a cancer that, like rapid cancer, that will, yeah, I mean, anyways, so please, you guys, if it's Mars opposition Saturn and everything else is going well, you can write it out. It might work out. If it's Mars square Saturn, get out of it. Join the database. I'll find you a match. Spread the word. If you guys have any idea into the sites, into advertising, cards, I mean, I'm beating the pavement here. I mean, I wish you guys would spread the word, because word of mouth is the quickest, but it's not for my own selfish gain. It's really to help humanity. But it's like, he's like, people probably just think it's too good to be true. So we started brainstorming, and you might have seen I put a few of the shorts on here so that I could advertise it through YouTube. And if you go to follow the Instagram at the Banker, did your partner lose cell phone service again? You know, escape this fate. So we came up with this whole marketing campaign this summer. Like I said, I could have spent, I mean, maybe it could be cleaned up a little more, but I think it's pretty slick. And the reason that we did it that way is not to like patronize or like make fun stuff. They love the drama. So we were kind of trying to make it where it's kind of a joke, like dramatizing situations, since just telling people that we can find their true love doesn't seem to work. But I don't know. It's just, and then, you know, I post it on Instagram and it gets like 1 view, even though I have 140 followers on there, which to me seems like a decent amount for not, you know, monetizing or paying on Instagram yet. So, and then I boosted up some of my business sites paying for marketing, and it just feels like I pay all this money and I get no results. So I don't know what to do, you guys. If any of you are in branding or marketing or have a following and you want to help spread the word, because all I want to do is get back there, my little nerdy 12th house moon in Virgo, and match you guys, okay? That's all I really want to do in life, and then see you flourish in these relationships. So anybody has any ideas or knows an influencer, you know, they get $1 back. So if they have 100,000 followers and they get $1 back, emailing all those people, it's like they don't respond. They have, you know, gatekeepers and stuff. So it's like, I know I sound like a lunatic, but to those of you who subscribe to my channel, you know that there's valid stand on it, and like I am. So, but with the data, I just can't deny it. So I just keep collecting the data, and you guys, I mean, again, if you have any ideas how to get people in the database, I mean, it really makes no difference to me whether you all find true love and happiness, but it's just frustrating to watch everyone fail. Like I said, for me also, I know this industry and I still can't find the perfect match. Like my friend now, you know, we have this Venus-Mars conjunction trying my sun in Aries. We get along great. We might date for a few years. Who knows? We might not date. We might just hang out and help each other through this time we're going through. But his moon is in Aries, so we got about 10 years. And so, like, why would I walk into that? I'd much rather keep him in the friend zone. You know what I mean? So it's just like, you know, I find my Virgo moon, my Taurus. I've never found a Taurus moon. There's a couple guys with Capricorn moon my father had a Taurus moon. There's a couple guys with Capricorn moons, but I don't know, for some reason they're more friend zone to me. My ex-husband was a Cancer moon. I seem Cancer moon men are the ones that I've been able to actually stick it out and actually have a committed relationship with. There was like 2 of them, my ex-husband, and I actually had a pretty decent relationship with a Gemini moon in high school, my high school sweetheart. But that's a square, so it lasted 4 or 5 years. Cancer moon with the ex-husband lasted 4 or 5 years. But we have a divorce aspect. I think it's Mars square Saturn. His Mars is in... That's the thing, too. If you have Saturn conjunct Pluto, like I was kind of talking about, or Mars conjunct Pluto, you're going to be sticking out stuff that you wouldn't stick out, like Mars square Saturn and Mars square Mars. So be careful of that. That's why I don't particularly like Pluto conjunct Saturn or conjunct Mars, because even though it's like that ride or die, like we're going to stick out, we're going to stick together no matter what, you're sticking out things that you really shouldn't be dealing with. You know what I mean? So like, oh, and then I watched this video because this whole Venus and Virgo guy, I went for the Sun and Virgo chick. He was like to the point in life where he's like, I'm not going to tolerate this and this, which really wasn't that bad. He kind of missed out because he was just like, and I was kind of like, I'm not going to tolerate this and this, but I was still willing to stick it out because I'm very committed that way. And he was like, no, if I don't think it's going to last. And his moon is in Libra, so it probably wouldn't last because my moon's in Virgo. But, and I might have said that, so that might have discouraged him. But even I was watching something that said part of the problem is as men get older, they're less willing to, I guess I want to say settle as well. It was like not complacent wasn't the word, but it was something like that. They're less willing to compromise. And that's just what was happening with Flaw, which is that I have a hard time trusting people because I've been through a lot of BS. But he probably is going to go through a bunch of BS relationships before. And the last girl, you know, allegedly didn't treat him well, but who knows? You know, you only hear one side of the story. So where he could have had a good 10-year run with me because our moons aren't compatible. But that's fine. I'll stick it out. I'll wait for a guy that I have moon compatibility with. But that doesn't mean that I couldn't, you know, not with these ones, but it doesn't mean I couldn't have a nice 10-year relationship, have some children, split up. Because when people don't have moon compatibility, but they have good synastry, the way that the divorce goes is it's very amicable. It's like very much a parting of, I don't know why we didn't. I mean, everything was fine at a certain point, but they didn't ever fight. I mean, I've seen where they did fight too with friends, but so for some of you, I would say it's better to date someone that you don't have moon compatibility with, and if you don't have any destructive, malefic, deal breaker, or divorce aspects. Because if you spend a good 10 years of your life with this person and you have children with them, there's going to be way less destruction and wear and tear on you at the end of the day than if you get with someone you have moon compatibility with, but you have this strong alliance because you have some strong conjunction, and then you're just wearing and beating each other up because you're sticking out things that really you shouldn't be, like Mars square Mars. But like, for example, that guy, we didn't have any of those tumultuous aspects, but we did have Jupiter square Neptune. So that's a little bit of intoxication and lying. But now I'm just going on a huge rant because there's something I keep dancing around that I want to hit before I go. And I can't seem to find it. That's why. And I'll think of it right when I click off, I'll think of it. But yeah, if you have, it can work, but it'll wear on you. Stay away from Mars squares, you guys. I don't know, like if you have more Aries in your chart and your Mars ruled, because, right, if your moon's in Aries or your sun's in Aries. Actually, like this guy, his moon is in Aries, and he was in a Mars square Mars relationship forever, was drawn to 2 Mars square Saturn relationships. Conflict doesn't deter him. It's almost stimulating, but it's still beating him up at the end of the day. It's still coming to a head. It's still not working out. Still children involved in disappointment. So that's what I'm saying. If you're going to marry someone and have kids, we live together in the first place, especially with out-of-sign moon conjunctions. I'm finding that more and more. Oh, that's what I was dancing around. So I got a bad review from a client the other day, and it's at the top, so now my business slowed down, whatever. My connection's not good. I'm waiting for Amazon to deliver me a replacement repeater thing. So I don't even know if my clients can get through to me right now or how good the connection will be when they do, but hopefully that'll be fixed today. I'm really feeling the shadow phase of Mercury retrograde. For me, a lot of times the shadow phase the 2 weeks before is the worst, and my clients sometimes that will be the worst. But often it's during it as well. I have one client, she comes to me every Mercury retrograde, her guy starts, disappearing. And it's just that 3 weeks, and then I don't hear from her again until the next Mercury retrograde or the one after. And they have a lot of Mercury in their chart together. So I think that's why. This client comes to me, and you could just tell right off the bat that I wasn't going to be able to give her the right answer. And it's the type of client that if I would have just made up an answer, because I can feel the energy. And I even had to write up a thing on my profile, like, if you're coming to me to look for someone to project your frustration with your partner at, like, don't even order from me. Basically, I was like, have healthy boundaries, because I'm very sensitive empath. So I get that in life where people want to, attack me for whatever I want with them. And I'm human too. I've taken my frustration out on people wrongly, but I'm accountable. And I'm sorry. I shouldn't have put that on you. You know what I mean? But people, I kind of have a target on my back that way. So they like to really like, if I'm happy and bubbly and in my high vibe as I can be, I can definitely be a target for people's jealousies, insecurities, and frustration. So every once in a while I have a client that comes to me and I can just feel it. I can feel it just the way they write the question. Like I can feel that they are blaming me for for what their partner is doing. So I'm not gonna get too much into her details, but she was with a guy for like 11 years. Their moons aren't compatible, so they split ways. They had good synastry other than that. He's now with a woman that he has good synastry with, and he's kind of having a hard time letting her go. So she wants to hear that he's going to let go of the new one and come back to her. But if I tell her that just because that's what she wants to hear, then in 3 months when he's still stringing along them along and playing his game, she's going to come back Oh yeah, and be like, you said he was going to leave her and come back to me, which isn't going to happen. And I was seeing it in the tarot as well, that that's not going to happen, that he's going to. So there was no right answer I could give her, because she's either going to attack me on the other end because I'd say, oh yeah, he loves you, he's going to get rid of her. And then because that woman's out of the picture, apply to me. I was like, okay. Yep, the moons don't apply to her. Nope, they apply to me, you guys. I can have the best relationship with a Leo, the energy, and I could try to dance around it. I could have the best relationship with a moon in Aries, have had many great friendships with men and women. Dated really good in his trade, Cancer with an Aries moon. I have a really good friend who's a pilot, and we actually kind of did date, but it was just all casual and fun. He's Aquarius with an Aries moon. This friend I'm hanging out with now that I just bumped into, Libra on the Virgo cusp with an Aries moon. I get along, and all the women I listed off in the beginning with Aries moons, I vibe with Aries moons like no other, because their moon is in my 7th house, and I'm an Aries sun. My Jupiter is there. Jupiter moon conjunction is beautiful synastry. It's still not going to work out for me. It may not be on bad terms. It may be more we just float away, especially with Aries energy. Aries energy, we don't really hold grudges. Now, we're almost too forgiving. Now, we can get pretty upset with you. And if we really, it's actually the more we love and care about you and sacrifice for you, the more hurt we're going to be. But if we're just in our fun Aries energy with you and you kind of just choose a different path, we're kind of like, okay, whatever, see you later. I'll see you next time. See you in a few years. We'll still be buddies, you know. But if we really pour our heart and soul out to you and into you, and we're devoted and dedicated to you, and you pretend to be the same, and then you pull the rug out from under us, yeah, we can be pretty hurt about that for a while, but still a few years later we're still gonna be more nostalgic, probably because a lot of Aries have a lot of Pisces in their chart. Pisces can be, you know, a bit of a martyr for love, but Pisces can hold a grudge probably even longer. So anyways, end rant. I just wanted to say that was really cute that she, you know, slammed me because he found another woman he has good synastry with, and she thinks the moons don't apply to her. And I knew you could tell when she was hesitant to like give me the extra birth info to verify the moons. I shouldn't even have gone into it. I should have just read the tarot. But the tarot was saying the same thing, so I felt like at least the astrology was reinforcing it. No, I got punished for that one. So it's even more fun. What's even more fun than watching you guys, you know, suffer and struggle when you date the wrong synastry is getting attacked because you're doing it and asking me for help. I don't know, you guys. I don't know what. I know my purpose is to get the word out there. A lot of astrologists know this. Again, they're not willing to die on this hill. I am. I got my Venus in Pisces. My life purpose is to make sure you guys are with the right synastry. Or I guess maybe it's not that. Maybe it's just to mend all your wounds after you get